Hi folks, this video is forward looking. I'm going to point you to some of the key themes to pay attention to in the final readings so you get a sense of what are the important elements here that we're going to see in the text they're going to enrich our understanding of Dostoevsky from what we've just got from the movie. So we've seen these dualities before between realism and miracles, or science and religion, atheism and theism, or also this spectrum, this tension between asceticism and the denial of worldly pleasures from the completely giving in to worldly pleasures. Uh, and and we want to understand how Dostoevsky is actually going to tell us to navigate these. He's going to resolve all of these. There's going to be a key solution for him to living authentically as a human and resolving this fundamental tension in human nature. And we don't really get a great sense of it from all we have in the movie. And that's why we need to read some of these critical parts of the text. One of the things we read in the text is this background on the life of Father Zosima. And you might think that this is a complete digression because he's only in one scene of the movie. He gets like 2 minutes of screen time and I think says like one line of dialogue. So how could he be that important? He's actually absolutely critical to really understanding what Dostoevsky's vision is going to be. So I'm going to try to point you so that it doesn't seem like we're just going off on this digression and reading some irrelevant pages. Why this is so key. What are the themes to look for in this dense bit of the reading? Well, one thing to look for is, of course, I am giving away that he's going to die, but let me tell you, this is completely foreshadowed in the novel. This is no big surprise. If you already guessed, the big surprise is the novel is a cliffhanger. It is really wonderful, but the big reveals, the big twists are the death of Fyodor and the fact that Smerdyakov did it. So the movie already gave that away, and then the fact that Smerdyakov killed himself. Those are all big surprises and twists in the novel. Not the fact that Zosima dies. This is completely telegraphed. So the thing to pay attention to is, what are the roles of miracles here with Zosima's death? So, there's a group of supporters who were all hoping for a miracle because he was sort of a controversial figure in the monastery as being one of these elders. And his supporters wanted vindication. So the miracle, this supernatural divine act, was then going to be the vehicle for people to believe in God and believe that Zosima really was holy. It was going to vindicate his holiness. So the supernatural, this version of miracles, was then going to propel people to faith and be a pointer toward the truth. Of course, his corpse stinks, so it's a complete inversion. And what this does is this betrays the thinness of Alyosha's character. You see, he actually has a kind of simple-minded faith. He was precisely one of the people who was hoping for a miracle. And his crisis of faith comes because there was no miracle. This is an indictment of simple-minded religiosity. He is not this saintly character throughout the whole novel the way he's portrayed in the movie. And this connects with the fact that Zosima tells him he must look after his brother. He must go out into the world and leave the monastery. This is the fact that he must come in touch with his bodily insect side. He has too simplistic of a view of human nature. He is still in despair, in my opinion. And this part of the novel that we're about to read is really what substantiates that reading. Okay, now I'm going to connect that theme to something else that I really want you to pay attention to, but there's going to be a quick digression before we come back to it, because I want you to sort of discover this and think about these issues. The thing I want you to consider is, what is the most Kierkegaardian element of the movie? What if you just watch The Brothers Karamazov after reading some Kierkegaard and you try to give a Kierkegaardian spin on it? What are the things that you would say really are the Kierkegaardian parts? So pause your videos here. I really want you to try to use your heads and try to figure this out. Okay, that was your last chance to pause your videos. I think there's two good answers. One is something we've talked about before. I think Smerdykov's relationship with Ivan is Kierkegaardian. It is just like a Kierkegaardian unconditional commitment, but it's a completely demented one. This is the dark side of Kierkegaard. When Smerdyakov says things like, "I acted as if you were the Lord God," this is so Kierkegaardian. Remember how little role Jesus plays in Kierkegaard. The objects of unconditional commitment provide the vehicle for the divine in one's life in Kierkegaard. And so this idea that Ivan could be like the God in Kierkegaard and Smerdyakov's mind is precisely like Kierkegaard's view, that no one else in the whole world protected him or meant anything to him. His devotion entirely, his friendship was to Ivan, and the love that he had for him that he expresses really makes this quite a Kierkegaardian commitment, but it's the dark side. It's a demented one that leads to demise and destruction. The other good answer, so the positive story, is of course the relationship between Grushenka and Dmitri. They finally come together and have true love. And especially if you just watched this in the movie, I think this would come across as one of these fairy tale true love stories. After she was spurned, or she realized that the Polish officer was not a worthwhile guy to run off with, Dmitri swoops in and she discovers, yes, this is the man I'm meant to be with, now that they finally have true love. And she says these lines like, they can punish me too. Whatever happens to you happens to me. I think this is like the Kierkegaardian identity defining types of relationships. Now, I think this really is part of Dostoevsky's vision, but this is not fundamentally Kierkegaardian. If you just watch the movie, it might seem like it's this fairy tale Kierkegaardian love, but that's not it. So what I want to do is give you an indication of what to look out for in the rest of the readings, because this relationship, how this is possible, is going to be one of the other key themes in the readings that we're going to get to. So what we have to do is we have to contrast their love with what happens with Alyosha and how he ends up, finding his fate by the end of the novel, which is going to be a bit different than what happens by the end of the movie. So what are the conditions? This really is true. This really is success. This is a great relationship for Dostoevsky. This is what he thinks is living authentically. They find salvation. But what are the conditions for it? It is not that they needed a miracle in order for them to find love and find faith. Dmitri has been talking about miracles and the need for miracles for the entire novel, but he has never seen them. He has not found a miracle yet. Just think of how tough Dmitri is having. He is running around frantic all of the time. He's fighting and shaking with his father. He's running over and interrogating Grushenka. He's stalking her at night. He is a frantic guy. He finds no peace. And he certainly does not first see miracles and the supernatural and then come to faith or to love, to salvation. Because this relationship really is salvation. This is Dostoevsky's view of what salvation is. But it's not because he found a miracle and then found faith. What happens was he first finds love, and this relationship works itself out. Now, the movie doesn't tell us how it works itself out. That's what we're going to look for in the readings. But it's because it works itself out that then they find a miracle. So Dmitri literally tells you there are miracles in this story. This is the miracle. You see, he thought he killed Grigory on the fence. He struck him down. He thought he was a murderer. Because he acknowledges his sin. He accepts that he is sinful. He accepts that he is a murderer. And then miraculously, he learns from the prosecutor, from the investigators, that Grigory lives. So it is like the dead man has risen again. And Dmitri says, it is a miracle. Like, you just worked a miracle. This is the greatest miracle, what you have done for me. So it is precisely, the miracle comes, and Dmitri has eyes to see the miracle because he first found faith. And this is no supernatural miracle. It's not like God actually came down, Jesus raised the dead or something. It is miraculous from his existential bearing, because it has restored the possibilities of authentic living for him. He sees the miracle precisely because he first found love. It is so key to understand that they find love through mutual acceptance. What she does, what helps the mechanism for her, is she actually admits that she too is sinful and needs forgiveness. She asks for forgiveness from him, just like he gets forgiveness from her. This kind of mutual acknowledgement is one of the key things for Dostoevsky. So she first asks forgiveness. He says, the only hell is being unable to love you. Here again, we have a non-supernatural. This is sort of a realist version of hell. Hell is the kind of existential condition when he is so committed to her. He has such a great need for acknowledgement from her that if he can't have it, he will be destroyed, and he will be like in eternal punishment in living in hell. But the fact that they can acknowledge each other and come together through mutual acceptance is what allows them to find love. That is what allows them to be redeemed. And then the miracles come. They have the eyes to see the miracles because they have already found redemption. Okay, these are some of the things I want you to pay attention to. We see glimpses, we see parts of this coming across in the movie, but you really need to see how it gets worked out in the novel. One last thing I'll say, just looking forward to the next reading immediately. This Life of Zosima is really going to help set up and understand what's happening with Grushenka and Dmitri. So these are a few last questions I want you to think about. Who Zosima makes a connection between Alexei and one other character, and who is that? Because this is really important. Another thing is pay attention to references to memories, and especially childhood memories. These are also critical. And then lastly, I wanted you to think about what happens with Zosima. What allows, how does his fate get worked out in the book? What are the details that we don't get in the movie? Because those are going to be important too. Okay, thanks.